My father comes from Sicily, from a place called Catania, but he was brought up at the base of Mount Etna on a farm there in a place called Zafferana. My mum comes from northern Italy. She's lived virtually all over the place, but her main place, I think, was Intra. They met in Australia. My father, when he was 15, he decided he'd had enough of Italy and jumped on a ship and come out at 15. Just after the war finished, 1945, I started a school in Maribyrnong in Sydney, a Catholic school. Because I couldn't understand what they were talking about, my job at 5-year-old was picking up papers, burning the incinerator, cleaning the toilets and doing the gardening while all the other kids were in school learning. One experience I remember really vivid, I can hear it and all, is these older children tied me to a tree and were shooting 22 bullets around my ears, knocking the bark off, wanting me to beg because they reckon all day goes gutless. So I didn't say anything. And I never told my father until I was 35-year-old. Yeah, I never thought of what I really wanted to be. I wanted to do. I wanted to do everything, but the main things were I really wanted to fly and build my own aeroplanes out of wood. And I used to visualise as a little child looking down at myself, sitting in an open cockpit aeroplane, flying along. As a child, I felt like looking around and finding whatever I could and see if I could build something that'd fly, not knowing anything. But then as time went on and I got my pilot's licence, I got to know the principles of flying. I could see that these kits that were being bought and the way the planes flew, I thought if they can do that, I can do better. And that's what started me then building, is having a go. And the first one I built, I drew it on the floor here where the car is, with chalk. What I first thought of was the shape of the plane. So I wanted to look like a fighter, I wanted to be a single-seater, and something I could sit in it and pretend I was in a Spitfire or something. I think if I would have tried to plan the thing first, I never would have attempted it. Each step caused the other step to happen. But if I was trying to sit down and put it on paper, I mightn't have thought of it. And that's how it went. I always like looking up at the stars. And in Italian, stella is a celestial star. And to me, she is a little star. So I've called them all stars. Star 1, star 2, and there'll be star 3. Well, the first takeoff on the first aeroplane was at Murwillumbah. There was a couple of days of assembling the plane, checking the plane, and then waiting for the right weather to fly it, and building up enough courage to have a go. One evening I decided, okay, I'm not going to take off, but I'm just going to taxi around the airfield. I taxied around for a while. I got up the end of the strip and I thought I'll just do a simulated takeoff. I'll take it to a certain speed and then I'll abort the takeoff. But once I opened the throttle, I couldn't stop myself. So it was opened it up and away I went. and it was starting to get dark. And I thought, well, because it's got flaps, that's air brakes, I had to test those. Now, I wasn't going to test those below 3,000 feet, just in case there was a malfunction. But I tried to land without flap, but the plane wouldn't settle. So I had to take the punt and operate the flaps at 500 feet and come in, and it all worked out and landed. I was happy as Larry, it just flew perfectly. I was carrying out my last solo cross-country navigational flight, a 5-hour flight, before going for a flight test. It was a beautiful day and I got everything under control. I could see Flinders Peak in the distance and I thought, this is the life. And just as I threw my arm up like that, this is the life, it felt like I got hit by a missile, the noise. I didn't know what it was, but I in the training they say pull the power off, get the nose up, get height. Done all that, but the front of the aircraft kept rotating and I didn't know what was going on, but I thought it was an engine mount that had gone. I noticed that way back behind me there was a valley, but I didn't know what was in it. And I thought, well, it's either land on top of the trees here or I'll see if I can make the valley. I got to the valley, flying along, saw a spot to land. There wasn't much room, so as I hit the ground, I held the plane on the ground, dropped the flaps, and then hit right rudder, which ground looped me, what they call a ground loop. And the plane spun around, bounced from the wingtip to wingtip onto its nose, and then skidded backwards up the paddock on its nose. They picked me up and flew over the wreck on the way back to Brisbane. And I'll never forget the feeling. I looked down and it was just like an experience of a lifetime. I was so elated, and not to be alive, but the experience of it all. It was just like a thrill. My hair's standing on edge now thinking about it. And at no time during the whole thing I thought that I wasn't going to survive it. It was nearly like I was showing off to someone beside me. It was just like, you watch this, you know.
My name is Susan Crabtree and I'm John's girlfriend. I've known John since I was 15. I'm now 51 and he's 71. And when I first met John, he was working where I was working at Marineland on the Gold Coast, and I used to sit on the bus and I'd see him pedalling away to work and I'd think what a freaky guy he was, how different he was. And then he became really good friends with my dad and we sort of got together probably 10 years ago and we've been really happy ever since. I like that he does that he builds his planes and that, because it keeps him young and bright and smart and do you know what I mean? He's not like a typical old 71-year-old, and it's, yeah, I love that he does what he does. Yeah, and when he does that, it makes him feel productive and happy, and if he's happy, I'm happy.
My name is Cody and I'm 14 and I live next door to John. I think it wasn't that long after we moved here that he invited us around. I'm not entirely sure, I don't recall why, but and that's when we saw that, you know, he was building these full-scale planes that he flies in his living room or under his house, which, you know, not every neighbor does. I thought it was crazy, a little, just because, you know, he's building these planes from scratch and just out of wood, really, and then flying them around like a lunatic. I've always had a bit of an interest in aviation, and so just seeing John doing this amazing stuff just from scratch, building these aircraft, is just really influenced me to maybe make a decision about having something to do with aviation in my future.
My advice to someone that's a little bit timid, I'd say give it a go. because you'll always surprise yourself. This is what I found, especially knowing how timid I was in a lot of things in my life. And it was just a matter of saying, buggers, I'm going to give it a go. I definitely have no regrets. And I don't think I could find anything that I'd say which I wish I could have changed that. And feeling that way, it's just a great feeling. When you've got that, I think you've got it all. And when I leave this planet, I'll be happy as Larry. I'll be going out laughing, I tell you. That's for sure.